Welcome to Horrorscape.
On this picturesque block, in this manicured home, something evil, something terrifying, something horrifying is haunting Lionel. His mother,
I thought I told you to spray this house. The place is infested with vermin.
although she was a little strict,
Look at this dust. It's an inch thick.
he never wished her any harm
You look after me like
until
Your mother's dead, Lionel.
now, whatever Mom's got
Who's your mother?
has caught on with the neighbors.
She's been bitten. You know what that means?
You can pray.
I kick ass for the law.
You can plead. You can beg for mercy.
Help! Someone! Please!
But nothing you can do will stop it.
There's thousands of them!
Because how do you kill something that's already dead? Trimark Pictures presents a modern masterpiece of horror.
Your mother ate my dog!
Dead Alive.
Party's over.
I'm Luke, and I'm joined by Ricky.
Hello again, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This week, we're going to take a look at a pretty wild horror comedy, and that's going to be Dead Alive, or sometimes known
Brain
as
Dead.
Brain Dead, depending on what area of the world you live in. So,
I think it was mainly the U.S. They changed it because there was another movie called Brain Dead that was a U.S. movie. I have not seen it.
yeah.
Probably you haven't either.
No.
We know.
Yeah.
We all know the real one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just saying because a lot of times if you're looking for this movie, then sometimes
Yeah,
you
it can
want
make it a
to.
little difficult.
Yeah, I've actually found it easier to look up like Brain Dead, and it seems to
Dead Alive.
seems to have more information there. But this is a horror comedy, and it's directed by Peter Jackson. Yes, the same Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings director, same guy.
Yeah, he started out as a he didn't really make grandeur type movies before. It was more like along the lines of Sam Raimi splatter movies and disgusting kind of shock exploitation kind of things. Because he had like Meet the Feebles and Bad Taste, I believe, came out before Dead Alive.
Yeah,
Brain
Bad
Dead.
Taste. Yeah, it did.
I like watched most of Bad Taste, and it actually kind of grossed me out at the moment, so I couldn't finish it. I want to finish it. I just, sometimes you're not in the mood for that, and sometimes you are.
Right.
This is also, kind of
This is along
disgusting.
those lines. Yeah, I mean, it's just a warning for anyone who maybe hasn't seen this. It is a extremely gory movie, but it's also fun. So
Yeah, it's very fun and it's cartoonishly gory.
right,
But
yeah,
I mean, you'll probably never eat custard the same way.
yeah. That's what I was about to say. That scene alone, every time, doesn't matter. I'm just kind of like, ugh, that's so gross.
Like when I was watching the other day, I had some pizza, and I was like, I better finish this pizza within like the first 10-15 minutes of this movie, because it's just gonna be no holds barred gross from here on out.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, it's often hailed as the bloodiest movie of all time.
And yeah, I mean it's gallons and gallons and gallons of blood. Like
Oh yeah, no, definitely gallons of. There was something I read that the infamous ending scene with the lawnmower or something, it was some crazy number of gallons of blood per minute was being pumped onto the set.
Like I even noticed it like at one point where he's just like screaming and running around chopping up zombies with the lawnmower. You can clearly kind of tell that there's like 2 buckets just being tossed on the dude.
Oh
from
yeah.
off camera. Yeah, I love that little. I love that dedication to the amount of blood. I mean, they set you up for such a bloodbath in that. But
yeah,
yeah,
I just saw it. It's something like 300 liters of fake blood was used just in that final scene alone. So
yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I think I was reading also the blood was like something like baked apples and some other fruit. So can you imagine what that set smelled like? Just like fruit, rotting fruit.
yeah, that especially after it's kind of hung
Sticky.
around, yeah, and being covered in it. Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
And funny thing, too, I read that in Sweden, when I'm sure this was a marketing ploy, but when you would rent the movie in Sweden, they gave you like vomit bags to go along with it.
Oh, and I was reading that in Spain, I believe the title for it translates to "Your mother ate my dog."
Yeah.
Great line from the movie.
The infamous line from the movie. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, this is a pretty wild movie. I'm gonna also say that as far as horror comedies go, this kind of sets the gold standard in my book.
Yeah, it satisfies all gory, ridiculous needs. What was it? I think Eli Roth said something like, "This was the first movie that quenched my bloodthirst."
Yeah, but it definitely is bloody. But yeah, I mean, and that's just a personal opinion on my part. As far as any comedic horror movie goes, this will always be the point of comparison.
Yeah, and you can tell that like he probably had like I don't know if he's ever stated this, but he clearly was like kind of influenced by like people like Sam Raimi and stuff like Evil Dead. I mean, that ending is so Evil Dead. But but he capitalized on like that the kind of thing that Sam Raimi was going for, and it kind of made it better.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's introduce some of the cast here, like we usually do. Again, this isn't big names or anything, but we have our main character, Lionel. He's played by Timothy Baum. We also have the character of Paquita Sanchez, and that is played by Diana Penalver.
Good try.
Yeah, good try. My Spanish is 0, so. And the mother is played by Elizabeth Moody, and the uncle is played by someone, Ian Watkin. These people don't even have like pictures, so this is pretty much all they're known for.
One and done.
Yeah.
But you know what? They'll forever be these characters because they are. I mean, they're all perfect for their characters.
Mm-hmm.
I really was impressed with the mother last time I watched it because she's so good at being vile but it can all just like a mean snooty old woman and then all of a sudden she's just doing the grossest shit and she's also so convincing with it.
It almost
like when it's like a slurred speech, it's just like, I don't know. It's just like that's a well-versed old lady actor. Actress.
And the mother, when I was watching it this last time, I was like, the relationship between her and Lionel is almost it's very like
Norman Bates.
Before Norman Bates' mother died, because Psycho, she's dead already, but here she's alive. So this is like almost the exact same. You could picture this being the relationship of Norman Bates and his mother when she was alive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like Bates Motel, but a rat monkey got involved.
Yeah. some kind of rat monkey or something. But so yeah, we'll jump right into the movie here a little bit. Now the movie is it's so full of ridiculousness and almost like one-liners is the best I could compare it to. That there's no way that you could explain the movie in detail or anything. So
It just kind of hits the ground running.
yeah, there's just so much that goes on. But first thing we'll do is kind of talk about, I guess, how these characters get into this situation they're in. So uh,
How's the
Lionel,
situation start?
yeah, well, Lionel lives with his mom, just like we were mentioning, and uh, Paquita is like a grocery store cashier. That's the first we see of them. But even before that, the very first scene where you're kind of introduced to how this all gets started is there's like a group of some type of New Zealand zoo officials that go to this island called Skull Island, and they're hunting down this rat monkey thing. We don't really know what it is, but
And it looks exactly like you can imagine it.
yeah. So they're hunting this rat monkey thing down, and the tribes people on the island are, trying to stop them. But ultimately these guys get their way, and they bring this rat monkey back to New Zealand to put in a zoo for some reason, even though it's and on the island it's like very nasty creature. So
And we have to point out that the zoologist, because there's only one zoologist along for this. I'm sure he's got, people in civilization waiting for him. But yeah, he gets bitten by the rat monkey first.
right.
So that's where we're kind of introduced to the virus type concept of this. That the natives that are his guides there, or they know what will happen or something along that lines if you're bitten by this rat monkey. So they cut off his arm, and then they see another scratch on his other arm, a little higher up. So they cut it off
Yeah.
from the shoulder, and then they realize that he's been scratched on his forehead, and then that's like where you get your title card right there. But God, yeah, they still take the rat monkey to be taken to New Zealand for some reason, but they do give this knowing look with each other, like, what have we done?
Yeah.
Also, I have to point out, and this is something that for some reason I have just never noticed each time I've watched this movie until this last time. This takes place in the 50s.
Yeah, it does.
I did not realize that, or even it doesn't even matter, I guess, that it takes place in the 50s. But I think that's probably why I never noticed it. And I only noticed it because I read the gravestone later on, that of the mother's gravestone later on in the movie. It's like 1957. She just died yesterday, and bam, of course.
Yeah. What gave it away for me was the cars and some of the scenes. Yeah.
And that should have been the dead giveaway for me. I guess that when I was younger and watched it, I was like, oh, this must just be what New Zealand's like. It's stuck in the 50s or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
but
that gave it away. I mean, I
there's an abundance of giveaway things. There's greasers in this movie.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm an idiot, but I just thought that was interesting that I finally realized that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, goes to New Zealand. We're introduced to our titular hero, Lionel. God. Yeah, and our grocery store clerk, Paquita. She
Hot Pockets.
Yeah, I'll never forget that now. Her grandmother tells her that she has a destiny, blah blah blah, and romance, and that she'll pulls out the tarot cards, and shows her that she's gonna have one great romance, and she'll meet him soon. And there's like a certain way she'll know when he has arrived in her life.
Yeah.
But sun or the stars and moon symbols.
Right.
But yeah, right after that, not 2 seconds later, she meets him, and he's like a clumsy kind of dude, kind of nervous, not very confident, and she's immediately enamored by him because
of the tarot card destiny type thing. He ends up knocking over like a cup of pencils, and it makes that same symbol that her grandmother was speaking of. So that's where she gets all this from. But yeah, they end up kind of hitting it off a little bit, maybe not.
She like stealthily, like she's like the pursuer in this, and it's kind of interesting to see this happen. You don't see it a lot in movies, but yeah, she like shows up and tricks him into taking her to the zoo because she's like acting like her English is really bad or something, and then he like corrects her, and then she's like, "Yeah, that'd be cool. Let's go to the zoo tomorrow." So, and then obviously, since we established earlier that this is like a Norman Bates kind of relationship with his mother, she of course doesn't like any sign of him possibly being happy.
Yeah, his mother is pretty obsessive over him and tries to control him in all sorts of ways. But yeah, they do end up going to the zoo, of course, and you see them looking at animals, and they seem to be having a good time. But then they actually get up to the cage,
monkey cage,
where this weird rat monkey thing is, and this is oddly enough, it's not even. It shouldn't be a standout scene.
And it is.
But it's really? It's personally one of my favorites.
I love it.
The best part is so this rat monkey is in the cage with other monkeys, and one of the regular monkeys kind of throws what looks to be like an apple or some type of piece of fruit at Lionel and Paquita. So they're like, funny, and they throw it back in there. Well, this, and I think it's actually the sound effect that gets me, but
sorry.
This rat monkey just like
knocks
other monkey. It just
knocks him cold out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the best UFC punch you've ever seen thrown, and just out cold, and
cold cut.
It just takes the fruit and tries to eat it, and then eventually, I guess, isn't satisfied with the fruit, so it rips the monkey's arm off, and then that
it's wonderful, like claymation too. It like looks pretty good for for the time period, but yeah, it's just gnawing on that monkey arm.
Yeah, and it's just great because the rat monkey just knocks the shit out of this regular monkey. I don't know why it sticks out, and it's so funny to me.
It's so good.
I love it. But and of course, Lionel's mother is stalking them, and she kind of sees them kiss off in a distance, and she's kind of stalking them, and eventually it moves to the point where she goes up to confront them. Long story short, she ends up getting too close to the cage of the rat monkey, or where the rat monkey is, and gets bitten on the arm. And of course, she hands it up and is like, "Oh, take me home,"
Well, I have to also mention that she then extinguishes the rat monkey in a very gory fashion.
Yeah.
She shoves her fucking heel into its head. It's a slow, like.
Oh yeah,
and the movie. And then the zookeeper runs up and he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. I mean, as far as gruesome things go, I don't even think that scene touches what.
Yeah, what is to come.
But still, yeah, for the beginning, I mean, it kind of lets you know it kind of sets you up
getting into
what you're getting into. Yeah, she's super upset that he went out with this girl, so Lionel takes her home, and he promises he's never gonna see Paquita again because his mom's a bitch. But
yeah,
she starts getting sick from the wound. The wound starts getting like really nasty and disgusting looking as the night goes on.
Squirts out milky blood and pus and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, shoot to the next day, and then like she's like super sick,
Hmm.
and some people from town for I guess it's like the homeowner society or whatever
It's
are there show up.
the Women's League for something.
WLWL, that's it.
WLWL, the
It's
Women's
the
League.
WLWL.
It's funny. I wrote down the acronym, but I completely forgot what it meant. But yeah, the WLW. It doesn't matter.
Maybe it's just
Uh,
Women's League, Women's League.
yeah, some type of women's snooty organization thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so she refuses to go to bed. She's like completely fucked up.
Hmm.
And she wants to, carry this out, so she has him like put makeup on her. She ends up like accidentally peeling a little bit of her cheek off.
Yeah, I think she's trying to put
And
some kind of makeup on it and just like rips
yeah.
her skin off.
And neither one of them find this, I mean, they find it upsetting, but not so bizarre to just be like, okay, your face is falling off. We need to call somebody right now.
Hmm.
He gets some super glue and glues it back on her face for her. And yeah, they go down and he like makes like Salisbury steak and beans or something for everybody. And yeah, and yeah, the husband, it's a man and wife, whatever. But the woman is noticing everything wrong with this whole situation and with this dying woman right in front of her. And then
Hmm.
the husband, he's just like all like, I guess, just paying
He's too
attention to
wrapped
the
up in
food.
the food. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like fucking coming in his pants over there over this beans and Salisbury steak.
and the
And
mom and well, his mom is sitting at the dinner table and she's like shaking. She can't eat anything.
yeah,
Like, she
and
can't
at one point she
sit.
just snatches the woman's steak off her plate, just
Yeah.
shoves it in her mouth. And yeah, so she's like, let's get out of here. And then the husband's like, what? No pudding?
No pudding.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So
Lionel ends up bringing the pudding out to them, and
yeah, he said, sorry, no pudding. This is custard. And the guy's like, oh my God, I haven't had custard in forever. You just made my day.
yeah, and then one of probably personally the grossest scene that to happen
It's
to me is
disgusting.
here. But yeah, the mom's bite wound, she kind of squeezes it and gooey pus shit gets into the guy's custard and he doesn't notice it, but he just takes a spoon and eats a big spoonful of it, and it's so gross.
He's he's like mesmerized by how good this custard tastes. He's like, his eyes are closed. He's like, oh, like he's just, I don't know, in heaven. And everyone else at the table knows that there's pus in this guy. They're like, oh God, nobody says anything. I don't know why.
And then the mom's ear falls off and falls into her custard, and she picks it up with the spoon and starts like chewing on her ear, and it's got the earring in it.
And oh God.
Yeah, that scene's pretty rough.
Yeah, but once again, it's just getting ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's getting you ready for the last 30 minutes of this movie.
You've had a couple opportunities to turn off the movie by now. If you don't know what you're in for, then you deserve what's coming.
Right. So after the dinner party, they end up leaving, and the mother goes upstairs. He sends her upstairs because she's dying, almost dead.
Clearly not well.
Yeah. Paquita shows back up, and she's trying to warn him about the tarot cards or whatever cards these were. I assume they were tarot. I don't know. But
oh yeah, the grandmother added in later that he was surrounded by death and bad stuff.
She shows up and tries to like tell him that something bad could happen, and she brings over a dog. So the dog actually runs upstairs, and we hear this commotion going on between the mother and the dog, where they both run upstairs, and the mother is like eating the dog pretty much, and its tail is hanging out of her mouth.
Poor dog.
Poor dog.
Yeah, he like pulls this dog's entire tail out of the woman's throat.
Yeah.
And which leads to the famous line, your mom ate my dog.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and still like I mean, like, it's shocking to them, but not the strangest thing in the world they've ever experienced for some reason. But
Yeah,
also,
they seem
whatever.
pretty cool with this at this point so far. Nobody seems to be like,
Sometimes somebody just eats an entire dog alive.
yeah, in like
Yeah.
15 seconds.
Yeah, so they're immediately concerned that the mom is dying.
Yeah.
All this, and instead of the whole like what just happened, and so she gets her gets Paquita to go get the town nurse or whatever,
Hmm.
and she comes up there. They decide to take her to the hospital while Paquita is upstairs packing luggage for the mother. The mother dies,
Yeah. Yeah. The
and
nurse goes and checks her out. She's like, "Oh, your mother has died." So they,
sorry about that.
yeah,
And while she's consoling him,
yeah,
a miracle happens. The mother comes back to life
right.
and immediately murders the nurse in hilarious fashion.
She turns her into a Pez dispenser.
Yeah, she turns her into a pet dispenser. I think that's the second movie you've done where somebody got turned into a Pez dispenser.
Yeah, it seems to be a almost a classic
Reoccurring theme.
yeah, that happens. But
Yeah, at this point he now he's battling zombie bomb and trying to figure out what to do. And Paquita is upstairs none the wiser. And then Nurse comes back to life and he ends up
yeah,
finally kicking them both down into the cellar, and then
yeah, he locks him down there because he doesn't know what's going on, so he's trying to like, I guess, assess the situation without looking or terrifying Paquita
which would
into.
definitely happen. Oh, I have to go back to one little thing that I really enjoyed watching this again. So while he's before the nurse comes back, he's fighting the zombie mom, and during the scuffle, the radio gets turned on, and
Yeah.
there's some fun with sounds here, where
Mhm.
what's going on the radio is like some kind of talk show or like a sitcom kind of thing going on there. And it corresponds to the sound. So Paquita is like kind of unaware of what's going on downstairs. He like knocks over a vase at one point, and then right after that, the radio says, "Hey, son, you knocked over my vase," and all this stuff. And some of the dialogue in it also just kind of fits with the
It's the
scene and
scene, yeah.
yeah, in certain ways and narratively what's going on. Like
It's
she
very
like
clever.
Paquita like walks out, and the radio goes, "See you later, boy."
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely very clever when throwing that in there. But yeah,
This
so
guy,
we
this
see at this point that we've got a full-fledged, somewhat zombie movie going on. It's not going to be your typical zombie type movie, but
yeah, these are very unique. I mean, for the most part, they're unique to themselves, kind of zombies. I
yeah,
mean, you could say they're a little similar to like Return of the Living Dead zombies, except that these zombies can be killed.
and they end up having personalities kind of later on too. They end up growing.
Yeah,
It's almost like they end up keeping a part of their human nature as the movie goes along somewhat, but it's just, I mean, it's
you're
absurd.
talking about the zombies that end up fucking.
Well, I mean, that happens, and they talk at some point. So, I mean,
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean. They
a
can
little
talk
bit.
at some point. They're aware. Like we even see one kind of like dancing later. So, I mean,
Yeah.
they're just not like mindless. So,
Also, to I don't know, they've got some interesting tricks up their sleeves that at this point you've never seen a zombie do.
mhm.
Yeah, so he ends up let's see.
Well, he ends up going to this crazy ass doctor that he gets this tranquilizer from to
Who's
try and
very
sedate him.
cartoonishly a Nazi.
Yeah, yeah,
They
some
even tears his sleeve at one point, and he's wearing his Nazi uniform under his lab coat, which is ridiculous.
yeah. But he ends up buying this tranquilizer, and his idea is that he's going to sedate these until he can figure out like what the hell is
What to
going
do?
on. Yeah. So he does that. He eventually will use this to sedate them, and to a point though, it doesn't really work. They can eventually like break out, and he has to get them back or whatever. But his mom does break out at one point, and
And she just flings herself into the grocery store. It's just somehow she's able to. She can. Is just like led right to him somehow.
yeah.
It's just So it's kind of like what you were saying earlier. A little bit of them is still in there. In their zombied bodies. But yeah, he ends up sedating her, and everybody runs in and like, oh God, she died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're gonna have a funeral for her.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
They start having the funeral, but he doesn't. And from his perspective, he knows that at this point that they're kind of these undead zombie things, and they just think she's dead because she's sedated. So he's trying to sneak around the funeral to like sedate her even more before they bury her, but it doesn't go too according to plan for him.
Can I also point out one more thing that I just kind of find hilarious in this? That okay, so like the first time he ever sedates the nurse zombie and mom zombie, it's only with the mom zombie, but every time he sedates her, he shoves the needle right up her nose.
Mm-hmm. There's multiple instances throughout the movie of where for some reason repeated things happen to characters. It's like the later on when the uncle is introduced, he just repeatedly anytime anything happens to him, it's always he's getting hit in the balls.
Yeah.
Every time.
Well, like 15 times or something.
Yeah. So it's got those kind of funny
and
moments.
It's satisfying each time though.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's such a
asshole.
Yeah, skeezy asshole.
Piece of shit.
We're actually introduced to him at this funeral, and they're trying to figure out where Lionel is, but then the priest is like, if he's not here in 10 minutes, we're just going to go ahead and go through with the whole thing, and whether he's here or not. So Lionel is actually at the funeral, just kind of in the back, trying to find the corpse of his mom and make sure.
Yeah, right here he's like in the mortician's office, and and there's just like pumps and stuff all over his mother's body. He ends up having to hide, and the morticians come in, and they're just like having a really hard time apparently, just like what do you call it? Embalming this woman. And here you also get a little cameo from Peter Jackson. He's the mortician's assistant. The woman's face explodes. Basically,
it's the mom that's there.
Yeah, the mom. Yeah, her face explodes, and he gets this like really creepy little chuckle out of it. But yeah, so they end up with they're like, well, let's try to fix her up, and they like shove her eyeballs back in, and
kind of on our way. Well, or going to send her on our way, but Lionel kind of follows and opens the casket and is going to tranquilize her again. Well, the mother wakes up out of the previous tranquilization and kind of jumps on Lionel. Well, when that happens, they fall through the back of the funeral home, which is glass, and so it's like he actually gets to tranquilize her, but during the act he like tranquilizes her and they fall through the glass right where all the funeral attendees are. So they just kind of seemed crazy and like dragged his mom out of the casket and was just
he tries to like hug her to make it look like he's just like a grieving son.
Yeah.
Cut to that night, and he's trying to dig her up, I guess, to trank her again. I don't know why he's doing that.
Well, I think he knows that she's not going to stay in that state, that he's tried tranquilizing her many times and it just doesn't work forever.
I mean, if she's buried underground though, what's she gonna do?
I don't know. She can bust out of the ground.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, probably.
Well, she does.
Or, oh yeah. See, what he should do is go there, dig her up, chain her up, trank her, just for a good measure, and then bury her again.
Barrier again. Yeah.
But he just shows up with like another trank thing, and I'm just like, dude, you can't dig her up every
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
that's his plan anyway. He goes to do that, and in the middle of doing this, we have this trio of greasers that show up.
Yeah, West
And
Side
we're like,
Story
"Ah."
shows up.
Yeah. They're like, "Oh, you must be a weirdo. You're up here trying to dig up corpses," and so they kind of beat him up a little bit. And then one of them is like, "I'm going to pee on this grave for some reason," and
It's the nastiest looking piss I've ever seen.
yeah.
It's like fluorescent yellow, and it's just like, I don't know. It's the guy should probably go to the doctor, or
Right.
at least drink some water.
Mhm. And Lionel
yeah.
makes a comment. He's like, that's my mom's grave you're pissing on. And then pretty much at that point, the mother's arm reaches up through the grave and grabs his dick and pulls him down. And it's just, I don't really know what's going on because it's just kind of him laying on the grave and he's just kind of vibrating, moving, commotion. Blood is going everywhere. So basically the mom is going to pop out of the grave and she's going to turn these greasers into zombies. And funny enough, another pretty funny scene, the priest from the funeral hears all the commotion and comes out.
And that priest has a couple of secrets up his sleeve.
Right? Yeah. And this is probably in my mind, the cheesiest moment of the movie, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still fun. So
it is really fun. Yeah, he claims that he kicks ass for the Lord, and it turns into a kung fu movie for a few minutes. He just beats the crap all three of the zombies.
Yeah, I mean, and he kind of just turns into like a kung fu master, and he's just like destroying these guys, and it's kind of funny, but
yeah, he kills one of them for sure,
mm-hmm.
And then does pretty good hurting on the other two, and then eventually his reign of terror comes to an end where he gets bitten by, I think, the mother. No, he gets bitten by that. Yeah, he pops one of the heads off, and it flies up there and then comes down and bites him.
Yeah,
and he tries to do a last-ditch effort to take out one of the zombies, and the zombie just jukes him and throws him in the air and impales him on a statue.
On a statue of some sort, yeah. And the fight scene is ridiculous. I mean, we can't go through every little thing that happens there, but like, I mean, he's like tearing limbs off, and it's crazy.
Beating them with their own limbs and stuff.
So
does he know they're zombies? Like, he's still a priest.
Everybody's just okay with this. I mean,
yeah.
But Lionel, he realized he's gonna have to tranquilize all of them, so he decides to do that. And the next thing we see is, for some reason, he has these zombies. I don't really know a better word to describe them, but has the zombies kind of at the dinner table, and he's got some type of custard or porridge that he's just like spooning tranquilizer in and trying to make them eat it. And
I think it's scrambled eggs.
Yeah, something. I don't know. It looks strange, but so yeah, he's trying to control them. And another really funny scene here at the dinner table is when one of the greasers he's talking to him, and this is where I was mentioning they kind of get a personality. He tells him, he's like, you got to use the spoon. He's trying to use his hands. And the greaser zombie goes to eat it, and then just like accidentally shoves the entire spoon like through the back of his head. And it's just crazy. I mean,
then the mom steals the eggs off the spoon in the back of his head. He's like, "Rah!"
Yeah. And the priest and the nurse zombie kind of are flirtatious and start like kissing each other, which is weird. And I mean,
and disgusting.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of disgusting things that happen here at the scene. Like I said, we can't go through them all, but eventually he's gonna realize he's got to get them kind of chained up to the basement there. But the uncle shows up during this, and he's trying to keep the uncle out of the house or whatever, but the uncle's, again, like a piece of shit. And the priest zombie and the nurse zombie, while he's gone, end up, like, I guess, having sex or something. somehow. And
Yeah.
but anyway, he kind of gets the uncle to leave and locks the zombies down in the basement.
And he's got his little zombie group down there. Oh yeah, and also something I noticed. So earlier in the movie, when the mom broke out and blah 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 led to the funeral and everything, she had destroyed the basement door. So he's actually in that time now installed a giant heavy steel door.
Yeah. Yeah. But we see that the result of this nurse and priest having sex is an extremely quick baby gets born, and the baby.
Yeah, she gives birth like that day.
Yeah, it's a matter of like minutes, I think. But for some odd reason, he decides that he's gonna take this baby to the park the next day.
And also, so I was reading that apparently no scene from the script was left out. The only things they really did to add to this to changing the script were adding things in, and this is an addition that he filmed at the last minute. Peter Jackson, because he'd already finished wrapped up on the rest of the film, and just had like $45,000 left over or something like that. So he was like, oh, let's film this additional scene where he just for some reason takes the baby to the park, and it's apparently his favorite scene in the entire movie, and it's really funny. It's so fucking over the top.
Yeah, it's definitely over the top.
Yeah,
and because the baby's like acting up, going crazy, and he's trying. I mean, the baby.
He's trying to keep it from killing everyone at the park. Yeah. Like, why would you do this?
He's fighting it. He's punching it and like, hitting it against the ground and stuff.
Hitting on like swing set poles and stuff. And like people are like looking into a couple of people. Like there's this homeless guy who's like, yeah. Beat the crap out of that baby.
Yeah.
But like another situation, I'm like, why aren't people overreacting?
Right.
To the situation, because that would be astonishing. But at the same time, this is almost a cartoon in a certain sense, and it's really funny.
You can't place any of this movie in any sort of logical reality. It's all a bit.
It's
zany.
Only a movie. It's only a movie.
It's all a bit zany, and you got to take it with a grain of salt most of the time.
Yeah.
It's just meant to be fun and ridiculous, which it achieves.
It definitely is, and it has. Yeah, this movie has so much fun with itself.
Yeah. Later on, we get to see that the uncle has pretty much conned Lionel into giving him all the money from his mom's death, like the house, everything like that. And first thing he decides to do is throw a giant party.
Which, to be fair, if I found out that I was now owning a mansion, that's the first thing I would do too. And
probably millions of dollars. So
So why not? The uncle had like found the zombies and they're tranquilized. So to him, he sees a bunch of dead bodies in the basement. Corpses. Like, dude, I'm gonna turn you in.
Yeah.
If you don't give me that money. So he's got him, and he shows up with all the this party, and is like, all right, dude, you are going to make everybody food and distribute booze and all that stuff, and you're now my slave. And in the middle of this, him and Paquita have had a weird breaking up kind of thing, because he's like afraid of getting her in danger and stuff, and she ends up convincing him to poison all the zombies.
Yeah. Well, she walked by the house and saw the party and decided she was kind of hanging around this other guy. He's like portrayed as
the ice cream, the dairy milkman or something like that.
Jock or something like that.
Bro.
And so she sees this giant party, so she goes in there and she discovers all the zombies in the basement too, and again she's just kind of like cool with it and decides that they need to try and maybe poison will kill them all. And a little later they find out that it wasn't poison, it was actually animal stimulant,
and the poison label is saying like not for human
ingestion. But so they try and kill the zombies that way, but it turns out,
It
they
supercharges them.
it supercharges them. Yeah. So at this point, the supercharged type zombies are going to break out of the basement, and that's where the
The fun
absolutely
begins.
insane party massacre begins, where it's just like all hell is going to break loose.
It's like hundreds of people died this day.
Yeah.
Like no, yeah, there's no chance.
The movie moves at such like a fast pace at this point. It's just like
It's hard
random
to keep up with everything.
crazy shit happening. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, we may just like point out a couple of the crazy main things that happen, but it would be impossible to actually go through and kind of dissect this part of this movie.
And basically, yeah,
hours.
each death is like so inventive and crazy and like great. Pretty great low budget creativity happening with like design, prosthetics and and gore, and oh man, like people just like straight up getting their faces ripped off. Like as soon as the zombies bust out, they like knock the steel door right on top of this guy, which kind of reminds me of Reanimator. Except this one's even worse because this guy just immediately gets gutted too.
Oh yeah, and just just mayhem ensues. There's a ton of deaths. I mean, yeah, I don't even know where to begin as far as to talk about the deaths that happen, because there is so many. So maybe we'll just point out a few cool ones that happened during this. But
the guy crawling through the was it a dumbwaiter or like a kitchen window or something like that, and he gets stuck, and they just gnaw off every bit of flesh from his legs, and he's just like skeleton from the waist down.
Yeah, that one's cool. Or the another favorite of mine is, you mentioned it earlier, but the lady who's standing there and she just screams, and then from behind, one of the zombies like punches her through the back of the head, and the fist comes out her mouth. Like it's just it's all ridiculous.
That's gnarly.
Yeah,
that's a great like transition from like live action to prosthetic, where it's just like posed in exactly the same way that you don't see the cut, so it's just like blam, and it makes it more surprising too, because you don't even get a chance to process that's a prosthetic, so you know that something's about to happen, because she's just like screaming, and then all of a sudden there's a fist coming through her mouth.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, and there's just violent, like cartoonish violence and limbs and all sorts of just crazy stuff happening.
Like there's even a point where dude's like asshole and like kidneys, I think, like become sentient.
Yeah, it's one of the greasers, and he kind of gets cut in half. Because Lionel's in a bathroom, and he tries, and he kind of like breaks through the door head first, but the wooden door is kind of left like jagged, so Lionel like stomps on him in the mid area down into the jagged piece, and it like cuts him in half. And like for some reason his intestines like come alive, and
that doesn't happen to anyone for any other person. I mean, like there's like sometimes like individual body parts will be alive, like a hand might try to choke you longer than it should, but for the most part, not every bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's unclear rules, but I don't care.
No, it doesn't. And I don't think you're meant to care. I mean, it's just silly at this point. I mean, pretty amazing at the same time. But yeah, just death. I don't know. I'm trying to think of even a way to describe it, but it's just crazy.
Yeah, everybody's getting a piece. Pretty much nobody except the main characters are actually even standing a chance.
Mm-hmm.
The uncle ends up outside at one point, and it's just like,
and he's again
he kind of pulls a commando move where he ends up in the tool shed, just comes out like with gardening tools.
But he keeps getting like hit in the nuts the entire time.
He's hitting the balls so many times. One point. Oh, there's one sequence I love where the baby shows up in the kitchen and is attacking Paquita and this girl with glasses. And Paquita's like beating the crap out of the baby, and like she ends up like tossing it down, like sliding it down the floor, and the like a thing propels the baby back, and she pulls out a frying pan, and you see the baby's face imprint into the back of the frying
Yeah.
pan. Like,
Well,
doing,
and
like that
also
is a
during that
cartoon.
too, the baby's like hanging from the light fixture or something, and she had turned the blender on or something. Well, the baby falls into it, but it kind of like ricochets out the window, and
Yeah.
you can guess it hits the uncle in the balls. so
God.
it's a bunch of crazy stuff. Crazy. But yeah, I guess kind of moving along, a bunch of things happen, but the uncle does get killed eventually, and he kind of turns into this like creature from The Thing, is what I.
It really does look like
Yeah,
something thing, or even from like Resident Evil or something like that. Like,
yeah,
yeah, because he ends up in the basement, and then finally, like, the mother shows up,
right.
and she's just like, for some reason, she is upgraded as well into a giant just monster.
Yeah.
Her face almost reminds me of like the bear from Annihilation. Have you seen
Uh-huh.
that? Yeah, it kind of looks like that, where it's scary, except, well, I don't know, it's kind of goofy in this, but
Mhm.
not quite as scary, but still kind of scary. But yeah, she basically just picks him up by the balls.
Yeah, of course.
And then pulls his head back on, still connected to his spine, just pulls it out of his back. It's it's pretty fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Another cool death that happens is one of the party goers, her name is Rita. She ends up kind of trying to survive in the kitchen with Paquita.
oh,
But
glasses girl.
yeah. And
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
yeah, the little baby gets back in, and it's kind of a surprise because she gets bit at some point, so you think that's what is going to happen. Her name's Rita. So you think she's going to turn, but she for some reason isn't taking as long as the others, and so you kind of see this scene where you think she's okay going to turn into this zombie thing, but then out of nowhere, kind of the baby somehow like digs its way through the back of her head and then kind of like splits her face open and comes out the front like laughing. It's absurd.
Yeah. And it's kind of even like I mean, it must be, or I figure maybe, kind of almost a reference to the cover of the movie, where it's a
Mhm.
woman with her mouth open, and there's like another face in there or whatever.
Yeah,
Whereas
there's like a
it kind
weird.
of makes, yeah, it's kind of the closest to the cover, but
Yeah.
it's her entire head just gets cracked right open.
Mhm.
Also, there's been a revelation because Lionel like ended up crawling around the attic, and he's basically been burrowing throughout the entire house, but he ended up in the attic and found a trunk with a dead corpse in it,
Mhm.
but like previous to all of this stuff. And because he's been having this traumatic thing recurring where he's like, I'm afraid of water because I think my dad drowned or something when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That was a repressed memory of his mother drowning his father and his father's mistress in a bathtub, and that she had murdered them. So he's traumatized by that. But he ends up outside, or I mean, sorry, coming in from outside with a chainsaw, and this is a big
But
moment, his Evil Dead moment.
well, he doesn't come in with a chainsaw.
Oh, I did say chainsaw. Sorry,
Yeah.
he comes with a lawnmower,
Right.
a push mower.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
basically
yeah,
the bottom half of a push mower that he's made some type of like back strap to, so he can like wrap it around his back. But yeah, and this is what you had mentioned earlier. The scene is very Evil Dead esque.
his groovy is party's over.
Right? Yeah, he says party's over, and then it's this that he's got this mower in it. It's just this insane bloodbath that happens. I mean, it's just bodies and limbs and blood. I mean, like I
And
said, the
he's
scene
like,
alone was the 300 liters of fake blood that gets thrown around here.
yeah, and he's like even occasionally like kicking arms and legs into the kitchen, and then Paquita's in there like just throwing them in the blender.
Yeah.
I guess to make sure none of those parts come back and try to be antagonistic.
Hmm.
But yeah,
But this scene is something else. I mean, it's almost hard to kind of describe because it's all so visual driven, but
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. I mean, and if you haven't for some reason seen this movie, I mean, you really need to.
Yeah.
Nothing that anybody says could really do justice to most of the scenes here without actually seeing them. So
Yeah, it's classic Peter Jackson. He's a visual storyteller.
right, yeah.
Um, this ends up leading up to the mother emerging. He's after he's dispatched all the zombies, and she's the titular final boss.
Yeah.
She this ends up taking Kita and Lionel up onto the roof because that's where finales happen, on roofs of giant buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up absorbing Lionel into her body. A little cavity opens up and some like
In her
tentacle
stomach, yeah.
things like he gets shoved in, and he ends up using this amulet that
Yeah.
Paquita's grandmother gave him to dig his way out. So basically he has to
He's almost
give
reborn.
birth to himself again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's reborn. And that's a little
It's
on
kind
the
of
nose.
fitting. Yeah.
But it's fitting. It's very fitting. He's reborn himself into the man he wants to be. So yeah, good character development there.
Yeah, he's not under his mother's reign of terror at this point anymore.
He
Because
literally
that
cut
does
the
kill
umbilical
her.
cord.
Yeah. Because I mean, it does end up killing her, and we see it.
Yeah.
At this point, the house is on fire and everything's kind of burning down. But
And he does this cool thing where he pulls his belt off and uses it as a whatever on the clothing line, and him and Paquita like zip line down from the house. It's very like it kind of is like he's a different man now. He's
right.
like an action star now. He's like
He's
Indiana
Bruce Campbell.
Jones now. Yeah, he's Bruce Camp. Yeah,
he's Bruce Campbell.
didn't Ash use his belt in a similar way?
I don't remember.
Actually, you know what? That was on the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series.
Oh,
That's what I think of that. But yeah, so like a happy ending. The house burns down. Hopefully, the baby died in the fire.
Yeah, I'm sure.
A phrase I will never say regarding anything
Right.
else. And yeah, their destiny is set. He throws the medallion away. I'm not exactly sure why, but he gives her this look like, of course I have to. But
yeah, maybe it's just that we don't need this anymore.
yeah, I'm not going to be superstitious anymore. It's a growing thing. He's like, I'll take care of myself now.
Right.
Or we'll take care of each other.
Yeah. And that's going to be where the movie pretty much ends. Comes to a grinding halt there.
He loses his mansion.
Mm-hmm.
But he's probably still rich.
I don't think I'd want that mansion after what happened in there.
Yeah, I'll build my own house. It's a good location, though. It's like right on top of that hill and stuff.
Yeah. Take too long to clean up that, so.
Yeah. And hopefully he won't go to prison for murdering several people.
Yeah. Oh, what seems like 300 people that showed up to this party.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say this looked like the smallest town ever in wherever New Zealand that it takes place, but it also did look like a small town. So like that's going to be a lot of people missing from that population, and questions will be asked, investigations will be made. What happened at that mansion that night?
Nobody's going to believe
fucking massacre.
The truth. So I don't know.
And it was mostly a bunch of young people too, like maybe college age or whatever. Like, I don't know. I do this. I look too far into things like this. I just like to establish what the happy ever after will be like.
Yeah.
And hopefully
that
it won't be
sense.
Paquita and Lionel in jail.
Hopefully not. But
because I know they're the heroes.
That's gonna about do it here. Any other little things to add, or I mean, outside of the obvious that please
watch this. It's great.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it and you're relying on what we have said or something to try and understand it, then that's not going to happen. We'll be the first to say the movie is ridiculous. It's outlandish. It's incredibly gory in a cartoony type way. It's meant to be funny, and it's great. Like I said, it's the gold standard in horror comedy, in my opinion. I mean, so
Yeah, I'd agree too. I mean, like, it's fantastic, and and it totally inspired a lot of horror movies. I mean, like, speaking of Eli Roth earlier, who isn't my favorite director of all time, when it comes to but I did always enjoy Cabin in the Woods, and Cabin in the Woods does
Right.
actually remind me of this movie quite a bit.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that movie is ridiculous, and the subject matter is actually, I mean, it's virus oriented. It's like pretty, like, I mean, it's far fetched, but it's still kind of. I'm sure if you got bit by a rat monkey, like, something bad would happen. Not to this extent,
No.
but there would be a really bad disease going on.
Yeah.
At least. So yeah.
And I think it's safe to say again that we're both going to highly recommend this movie. I will point out, try and find a source online to view it. You can view it on YouTube. If you're looking to own a copy of it, good luck. It's a pretty scarce movie to find on like physical media these days.
For some reason.
Well, let's see. I ended up having to buy a new version of the DVD, and I think it cost a used copy. I think cost me $20.
That's like it just came out or something.
Yeah,
Price.
well, they released it on Blu-ray as well, which I really wanted, but all the used copies I've seen are $100 plus. So,
oh geez.
Yeah, but there's supposedly there being this, and Bad Taste is getting remastered for like a Blu-ray / 4K release. But
oh my god.
Yeah, I'm gonna venture to say that this won't be cheap to find. Even I think two things will happen. It's gonna be hard to get a copy. I think it's gonna sell out pretty fast. I would even say retail, these are going to be $40 a piece. So,
wow.
In other words, if you do happen to be out somewhere and you see just a copy of this in general, even the VHS is like $20 to buy it. So, if you see any physical copy of it, I mean, just pick it up because it's worth it.
Pick it up and send it to me and Ricky.
Yeah.
We won't be able to reimburse you, but if you send your name with it, we'll give you a shout out.
Yeah. Especially if send me the Blu-ray if you find it. So I guess that'll do it here. If you haven't already, as we always say, give us a like on Facebook.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave us some comments and suggestions and all that.
We're on YouTube.
Very welcome.
Yeah.
So, but I believe that's going to do it for this week. So you guys enjoy your weekend. I hope it goes great.
Peace.